Lesson 29. How to Analyze Data. In the last lesson, Mr. Little removed Asian beetles with a vacuum sweeper and concluded that the beetles caused his allergies. Mr. Little had a problem. He hypothesized a solution, he tested his hypothesis, and the data was clear. The beetles are gone, and so are my allergies. If Mr. Little had repeated his experiment, he could have gathered more data. He could have gathered bags of beetles, spread them around the house, and watched whether his allergies returned, then vacuumed up the beetles and watched whether his allergies went away. Fortunate for Mrs. Little, he didn't think of this. Analyzing data is one of the most difficult jobs for a scientist. It is the future, and planet Earth is running out of helium-3 nuclear fuel. Captain Buzz's mission: mine helium-3 from the moon. Lunar satellites and robots have returned a great deal of data. As we tune in, Buzz is looking at this data. Buzz. The whole Earth is counting on us. We must move quickly. Sidekick. Sir, your hypothesis is that higher concentrations of helium-3 may be found in the deeper lunar craters? Buzz. Yes, Sidekick, but this data is so confusing. Analyze data. Data is information gathered by research or experimentation. Data can say 4 things. 1. Good news, I support your hypothesis. 2. Bad news, I don't support your hypothesis. 3. No news, I'm ambiguous, I don't know what I'm saying. 4. Mysterious news, I wasn't expecting to find this. Good news. Some lessons back, we learned about being a keen observer. You may have asked yourself, if I learn to use measuring instruments and keep records, what am I looking for? Sidekick. Sir, here are the graphs you requested. Buzz. As you can see, the satellite readings of the lunar planes show helium-3 can be found in concentrations of 1.0 to 2.5 ppm parts per million in the dust. On Mons Hadley Delta, one of the tallest lunar mountains, the dust contains less than 0.0002 ppm of helium-3. However, robots have found readings as high as 15 to 20.5 ppm in deep craters. Buzz is looking for patterns, for common elements and trends in the graphs and charts. He's asking himself, does the data confirm my prediction? Buzz. The lowest readings are on the tallest mountains and the highest readings are below the surface of the moon. This seems to verify my prediction. Sidekick. Should we risk landing an expedition? Buzz. We boldly go where no man has gone before. Things are going well for Captain Buzz, but what happens when a scientist gets bad news? Bad news. Granny. I can't download my email. Couldn't you fix it, honey? You're good at computers. Grandson. Your SMTP driver might not be processing data packets. I'll update your MCRS32. Grandson, a few minutes later. I updated your driver, but you're still not getting any email. Granny. Oh, you're such a dear. Grandson. Maybe the firewall is blocking your email. I'll turn that off. Grandson, a few minutes later. I turned off the firewall, but you're still not getting any email. Granny. Oh, you're so helpful. I hate to bother you. Grandson. Well, maybe the computer isn't connected to the internet. I'll dial into the server again. Grandson, a few minutes later. I redialed the server, but you still don't have any email. Granny. I'm glad I have such a smart grandson. Grandson. Maybe I could restart your computer. Grandson, a few minutes later. I restarted the computer, but you're still not getting email. Sometimes it's easier to prove that something is false than to prove it is true. The grandson in this story has many hypotheses for why the grandmother can't download her email. Each time he tests his hypothesis, he finds he's wrong. This can be very frustrating. No news. It's worse, however, when the news we receive is ambiguous. Granny, I think it's working now. Here's a new email in my inbox. Grandson, well, finally something worked, but this email says it's from yesterday. Oh, I know, it wasn't here before, so the email must be working. Grandson, but your email quit working this morning, and you checked it before it quit, right? Granny, yes. Grandson, so this email might have been there from yesterday, but you didn't notice. Granny, I guess it could have been. Grandson, so we still don't know if your email is working or not. Granny, oh, you're such a dear. Maybe we should take a break and have some cookies. Scientists do not like ambiguous data. This is why they design their experiments to give them a clear yes or no answer. They don't want vague results, which could be interpreted more than one way. If the data is ambiguous, then scientists must look for unwarranted assumptions or errors and then do the experiment a different way. Mysterious news. Another thing scientists can find is something they weren't expecting to find. Captain Buzz and his team have been mining helium for a year. They are preparing to descend into the deepest crater. Sidekick. No one has ever explored the Newton crater, sir. Let me check your power cell. You look frustrated, Captain. Buzz. We aren't finding the helium-3 we expected. Some places have it, and some do not. Sidekick. Isn't your hypothesis that craters contain more helium-3 because they are protected from temperature changes? So why? Buzz. Why do some craters have it and some don't? This data is ambiguous. Have you noticed how dust in some craters is marked with grooves? I can't make any sense of this. Sidekick's light illuminates the darkness as they descend, and as their boots sink into the ancient dust at the bottom, they stare in wonder. Sidekick. It looks like a tractor, sir. Buzz. But how can this be? Sidekick. I've been programmed to read all Earth languages, and this writing is similar to ancient cuneiform hieroglyphs. It seems to say property of Nimroz, the Great. Buzz. This is why I became a scientist in the first place, to discover the unexpected, to boldly go where no man has gone before. Sidekick. I guess we'll have to go farther, sir. Exercises A. In the following examples, choose whether you think the evidence is 1. Tends to support the hypothesis, 2. Tends not to support the hypothesis, 3. Seems ambiguous, or 4. Contains unexpected results. Number 1. Bert thinks gold is soluble in hydrochloric acid. He takes his 1933 gold double eagle and drops it in a beaker of concentrated hydrochloric acid. Nothing happens. 2. Imagine you get a severe migraine headache at about 2 p.m. every other day. Imagine your friend suggests all sorts of cures for your migraines. You decide to try each suggestion for a week. Week 1, Jenny suggests you consume 100 milligrams of caffeine in coffee or pop when you feel a headache coming on. Week 2, Margaret suggests you take ginkgo biloba herb extract every day. Week 3, Nate suggests you get 4 hours of strenuous cardiovascular exercise every day. On week 1, you experience one headache day. Week 2, 5 headache days. 3 headache days. You conclude that the caffeine seems to work best. Number 3, Dwayne has been test driving SUVs for the last 7 months. He has a theory. Every SUV he's driven with 8 cylinders in the engine got worse gallon mileage than the SUVs with 6 or 4 cylinders. However, he doesn't feel confident in his theory because he has only tested 37 new and used SUVs on the market. He knows there are at least 11 he hasn't tested. He decides he'll try a new SUV made in Korea and another SUV manufactured between 1987 and 1991 in Moldova. He tests them and finds that the Moldovan SUV has 4 cylinders and gets just a little bit better mileage than the 8-cylinder Korean model. Number 4. You and your twin brother both came down with chickenpox at the same time. You want to get over the chickenpox very soon because your family is going on vacation. Your hypothesis is that the sunlight will kill the chickenpox germ, so you convince your twin brother to stay inside the house while you sunbathe outside. He's very willing to do this because he feels miserable and doesn't understand why you'd want to get sunburn on top of a chickenpox. The doctor says chickenpox lasts about 7 days. You feel much better on the morning of the 7th day, while your twin brother feels better the morning on the 8th. Number 5. Nathaniel has a lifelong fascination with conquering the common cold. He reads an article on how colloidal silver kills bacteria. So he builds his own colloidal silver generator. When someone in his family comes down with a cold, he takes some colloidal silver to strengthen his immune system. When he gets a cold, he takes even more. Sometimes he doesn't catch a cold, and sometimes the cold goes away in just 2 days. 6. Slanova's hypothesis is that onion juice causes his eyes to water when it touches his hands. He decides to test this by chopping 13 onions while wearing gloves. The gloves should keep his eyes from watering. He only succeeds in chopping 2 onions before he has to quit because his eyes are watering too much. 7. Sheriff Handy was thin, wiry, and short. Before the cactus incident, the sheriff winced when people called him Shorty. He was afraid the guys wouldn't think he was tough. His hypothesis was that if his nickname were Cactus, the guys would think he was tough. If a memorable event involving a cactus was attached to him, people might call him Cactus. He decided that If he was shot in the desert by an outlaw, he'd use cactus juice on the wound, and then he'd tell everybody that the juice saved his life. As we all know, this scheme seemed to work. Number 8. There are 700,000 doctors in the United States, and they cause about 120,000 accidental deaths per year. This means that there are about 0.171 accidental deaths per physician. 80 million people own guns in the US, and they cause 1,503 accidental gun deaths per year. This means the number of accidental gun deaths per owner is about 0.0000188. Statistically, doctors are 9,000 times more dangerous than gun owners are. Guns don't kill people, doctors do. Out of concern for our readers, we will not give the statistics on lawyers because the alarm might cause you to panic and seek medical attention. 9. Hans thinks that whenever his computer has an error message, it is because an invisible pink rhinoceros has messed with it. He tests his hypothesis by sitting at his computer and waiting for an error message. When he gets one, he writes down whether he saw the invisible pink rhinoceros at time. After 2 months of careful observation, he has not seen a single invisible pink rhinoceros. Number 10. Your hypothesis is that Cleano laundry detergent works better than Dirty Go Away or freshener. You test all 3 brands of laundry detergent by washing 3 loads of equally dirty laundry with each detergent. As a control, you also wash 3 loads without using any detergent at all. You discover that the load washed with no detergent at all is the cleanest.